Have you ever felt like you're trying to control everything around you, but nothing seems to work? That anguish of doing everything right, yet the problems still persist? C.S. Lewis once said, "True freedom is found in surrendering to the will of God." Maybe what you need is not more effort, but more surrender. In this video, I want to extend a special invitation to you. Surrender yourself entirely to God. Maybe this sounds scary, but believe me, He might be preparing something extraordinary for you, something beyond your wildest dreams. Today, we will explore how the act of trusting and surrendering to God can completely change your life. Stay with me until the end, and you'll see that God's surprises always come at the right time. Surrendering to God is not easy for many of us. Maybe you've asked yourself, what if I lose control? What if things don't turn out as I hope? This hesitation is human and often stems from fear, pride, or our difficulty in believing that God knows what's best for you. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Surrendering means giving up the control that was never truly yours." Think about it. How many times in life have you tried to control situations only to end up frustrated? We try to solve everything with our own strength, forgetting that God has a much bigger perspective. He sees the full picture. While we only see a part, the hesitation also comes from the idea that by surrendering, we will lose something. However, the truth is the opposite. When we hand over our fears, our plans, and our uncertainties to God, we gain something far greater: peace, purpose, and direction. Jesus said, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me." Matthew 16:24. This act of denying oneself is liberating because it takes away the burden of trying to be enough all the time. God is not asking for perfection. He is asking for your heart. And when you give your heart to Him, amazing things begin to happen. Reflection exercise. Take a moment and ask yourself, what am I still trying to control in my life? Is it time to surrender this to God? Trusting in God is an act of courage. In a world that values control and self-preservation, putting our lives in God's hands seems illogical. However, it's precisely this trust that allows us to experience true peace. The Bible reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." Proverbs 3:5-6. This promise is clear. God does not leave us alone when we decide to trust Him. He not only guides our steps but also illuminates the path. Think about this. When we trust God, we stop carrying a weight we were never meant to bear. Have you ever tried to go through a difficult moment alone? The feeling of carrying the world on your shoulders can be overwhelming. Now imagine handing that burden over to someone who is all-powerful, loving, and knows you better than you know yourself. C.S. Lewis said, "Trusting God is like learning to swim. At first, we're afraid to let go of the ground, but once we trust, we are supported by the water." And the most incredible thing is that by trusting Him, we are freed from our worries and begin to live more lightly, even in the midst of difficulties. An invitation for you. What would happen if you trusted God more? Today, what areas of your life could be transformed if you handed Him your doubts, your pain, and even your dreams? Take this step of faith, and you'll see how He takes care of everything perfectly. Perhaps you're in a waiting period right now, that feeling that things are stagnant, as if God is silent. And it's precisely in these moments that many of us begin to doubt. Is God really with me? Is He hearing my prayers? C.S. Lewis reminds us, God whispers in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pain. It is His megaphone to awaken a deaf world. This teaches us something powerful. Even when we cannot see or feel it, God is working, waiting. Periods are not wasted times. They are times of preparation. Think of a farmer who plants a seed. He doesn't see immediate results but knows that beneath the soil, something is happening. The Bible says, Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 30:5. The morning will come, but in the meantime, God is cultivating something precious in your life. Asterisk, a story to reflect on. Remember the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. He was sold by his brothers, unjustly imprisoned, and spent years waiting for God's promise. But at the right time, God exalted him and used his life to save many people. Silence did not mean abandonment, but rather a greater plan in action. Asterisk for you to think about. Could this waiting period you're experiencing be an opportunity to trust God more? What if He's preparing something far greater than you can imagine? How many times have you heard the phrase, God has a purpose for everything? Maybe you're tired of hearing it, especially if you still don't understand what He's doing in your life. But there's something we need to remember. God's ways always lead to our good, even when we can't see it at the moment. The Bible assures us, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. This verse is a powerful reminder that even in the most challenging situations, God is writing a story that ends in victory. C.S. Lewis said, "What we surrender to God is not lost, but transformed into something much greater." God works in ways that, at first glance, may seem confusing or even painful, but in the end, always amaze us. An example of God's surprises. Imagine someone losing their job and thinking everything is lost at that moment. However, months later, that same person finds a new opportunity that helps them prosper and grow in ways they never imagined. God allows some losses to give us something greater and better. God is not just a creator, He is a loving Father. And, like a father, He leads us through paths that we often don't understand, but that are essential to mold us and guide us to the purpose He has prepared for us. God's surprises are not coincidences. They are part of the perfect plan He has for your life. For reflection, what if what you are going through today, even the pain and setbacks, is preparation for something extraordinary? The question is not about understanding why, but trusting in who. We've come to the most important moment, the invitation for you to completely surrender to God. Perhaps, throughout this video, something has touched your heart. Maybe you're realizing that the control you're trying to maintain is only causing anxiety and fear. Today, God is calling you to take a step of faith. C.S. Lewis said, "If you surrender completely to God, you will find in return true freedom." This is the greatest truth of the Christian life. When we surrender, we don't lose, we gain. When we trust God and put Him at the forefront of our decisions, He transforms our lives. Have you ever imagined what God can do in your life if you simply say, "Lord, here is everything I am and everything I have. Let your will be done"? Total surrender is the beginning of a journey full of miracles and divine surprises. It doesn't mean we won't face struggles, but it does mean we will never be alone. A truth to keep: commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. Psalm 37:5. God acts. He never abandons those who trust Him, and you can experience this in a real and powerful way if you decide today to surrender to Him. Challenge for you: take a moment today to pray. Tell God what's on your heart. Give Him your fears, your worries, your dreams. Trust Him and watch how He begins to transform everything in the right time and the right way. Before we finish, if this message touched you, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who also needs to hear this today. And subscribe to the channel to continue receiving inspiring messages to strengthen your walk with God. God has amazing plans for your life. Trust Him and get ready to be amazed.